not prepared!
Welcome to another top 5 with Kris 5, guys. Well, it was supposed to be a top 5, but actually it's gonna be the best deck for each class kind of video. I started making the top 5, but then I noticed that literally every class has a pretty good deck out there right now, so might as well give you the best decks for each class just before the new mini set. The new cards from the mini set looks pretty strong, and there's quite a few power creeps in here, so it's definitely gonna shake up the meta, but still, you probably wanna know what the best decks are gonna be before the new mini set comes on the 15th of February. So let's check them out. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you're new, it really helps. Lately we haven't been gaining too many subscribers, so I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. Before we get into the decks, let me tell you about today's video sponsor, Core. Core is a new PC gaming platform in which anyone can create, share, and play multiplayer games. It's completely free to download, and you get to play over 40,000 different games in all sorts of different genres. You can mine cookies, be a ball, or cross the sea with your ship. You can really find all sorts of cool different games there and switch through them instantly with no additional downloads. And you can play with friends too, form parties, and also use their voice chat. A really awesome game on Core is a mix between World of Warcraft and Hearthstone, Puppet Masters. In this MMO, you can roam the world with your trusty puppet, which can be a rogue, mage, tank, or healer, and each of them has their own unique talent tree. The game is a mix between real-time play and turn-based play, since turns take only a few seconds long and players can actually dodge attacks too. Imagine if we could dodge a pyroblast to the face in Hearthstone, right?
Amazing.
I've spent quite a few hours in this game, and I can say time really flies when you're playing with friends. You can fight each other, or take on the PvE, and even form parties by 2 or 3, so you can take harder mobs down together. There are also a bunch of chests with tons of loot scattered across the map, so you even get rewarded for just roaming the map. Would be awesome if you check out the game, and if you do, make sure to add me as friends on Core. My username is Kris 5. You can play Puppet Masters by using the link in the description to download Core for free. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so the first deck on the list is gonna be Fell Demon Hunter. Fell Demon Hunter has been pretty decent for the past several months, and right now it's as strong as ever. And it's probably the best deck you can be picking up for Demon Hunter. We do have Mage included in this one, as well as a Ruster Viper, so you can ensure that you have a chance against Paladins, for instance. Mage can be used in different ways, including for a big board clear, for a tempo play, or even for a hostage on the board, aka just leave him on the board and leave one minion at, let's say, 1 health, so you can trade it off easily while holding the opponent hostage, not being able to actually develop his board without having to worry that the Mage is gonna clear everything. We obviously have Kris, which does combine pretty well with expendable performers, as well as your Fellfire Dreadeye for a good OTK potential later on. We also have Jace for a ton of chip damage, and the rest is basically removal spells and fell spells to load up the Jace nice and good. Matchup wise, Ram Druid is gonna be destroying you because they gain too much armor and they have fat taunts. Some priests might be pretty hard for you, and also Charge Warrior is gonna be a little bit under 50%. But all in all, as you can see, the matchup spread looks pretty good. Mulligan wise, Kris is gonna be a good idea to keep, as well as a well outcasted Skull of Gul'dan, or an outcastable Skull of Gul'dan. When going first, Immolation Aura also makes the cut, Ruster Viper can be pretty good, and even Fellfire Dreadeye, which feels a little bit weird, but I guess you can tempo out the first one, so you can get some cheap hero powers so you can load up the Kris demons. When going second, Fellscream Blast also makes sense to keep, Immolation again, Chaos Leech might be pretty good, so you can destroy some tempoed out big stuff, Chaos Strike always feels good, and also Gorger ain't too bad either. Moving down to Druid, where we have Beast Druid being the best performing deck right now. Beast Druid is a pretty good deck, and I have been playing with it quite a lot, especially in coaching sessions, and I can vouch for it being super reliable from Diamond to Legend. This version is running Wing Commander, which feels pretty good, and don't forget he also has Rush, so even if your board is empty and the opponent has a 2/2 on the board, you can do some pretty big plays with Wing Commander. This list also utilizes Vibrant Squirrels, which discount your Frostsaber Matriarch even faster, but you don't get to be playing the Living Seed in this case. So that is a little bit iffy, since you're not gonna be having a reliable way of pulling your big beast fast. You do have Jerry Rig with 2 Soda Souls as well as Power of the Wild, so you have some more draw potential with that one. And you also have Moonlit Guidance, which can feel pretty good, especially after your big beasts are discounted nice and low. And you can even double those with Oracle of Elune. Matchup wise, this list is not too populated, but as you can see, Burn Shaman, Quest Hand Warlock, and Aggro Druid might feel a little bit too hard for you. Charge Warrior is also pretty bad for you, and let me see a little more populated list here so you can see better. Fell Demon Hunter is not gonna be great for you, Priests are not too fun either, and like I said, Charge Warrior as well as Boner OTK Shaman are gonna be pretty hard. Mulligan wise, you're gonna want your cheap cards early, like Vibrant Squirrel, and also Frostwolf Kennels feels pretty good a lot of the times, but make sure you're somewhat curving into it. Druid Reef is pretty fine, Jerry Rig as well, Adorable Infestation pretty good, and also Formgrove Sentries. Composting can also feel pretty good, as long as you make sure that you will be able to stick a board for, let's say, turn 3 with it. But yeah, all in all, the deck is pretty solid. For Hunter, Face Hunter is still probably gonna be the best deck, but right now Quest Hunter is actually pretty high on the list, with just 1% difference in the win rate. The popularity is not as high, but if you're looking for something different for Hunter, definitely check this one out. If you just want to see a Face Hunter, just check my last top 5 or my coaching sessions with it. Here's what the quest list looks like. We are running Dunboldar Bunker, so you can fish out your secrets faster, and you can also quest progress with Explosive Trap for instance. But also don't forget you can be using these for cheap spells for after the quest completion, so you can reset your hero power several times. We're also running Ice Trap, which is an excellent way for you to stall out the opponent in their early turns, and also Professor Slate can be a pretty powerful play for you, especially if you combo it off with Bola Shot. You have Multicaster because you have plenty of spell schools in this one, Spring Trap so you can fish out extra secrets from your deck, and also Barak Kotobane for a nice refill. Matchup wise, here's a little more populated list, so you get to see what it looks like, but Ram Druid and Libram Paladin are not gonna be great for you. For the mulligan, Barak Kotobane apparently feels good, but I wouldn't be keeping it when going first if I already don't have some good cheap stuff. Dunboldar Bunker will definitely make the cut, your cheap damaging spells as well, and all in all, depending on the matchup, you might even consider Explosive Trap. For Mage, we have Ping Mage being the best performing deck from Diamond to Legend. Make no mistake, Mazaki Mage is still killing it in Top Legend, but from Diamond to Legend, Ping Mage is just a lot simpler and pretty reliable too. This list looks pretty standard, and it's not using any secrets for armor gain. You do have Snowblind Harpy instead of the secrets basically for some armor gain. Obviously we have Multicaster, the hero card which works pretty excellent for this deck, and also Mask of Cthulhu, which is a shadow spell, so you basically guarantee Magister always casts that. This version actually doesn't run Teelan, which I really think fits pretty well in the deck, but then again, it's also a pretty obvious giveaway for the opponent to be playing something like Mutinous on turn 7, so be careful with those. Matchup wise, Druids are not gonna be too fun for you, aside from Aggro Druids, Demon Hunters as well pretty much wreck you, Quest Hunter which we talked about, and also Quest Warrior, but you're not gonna see too many of those nowadays. The rest looks pretty green, so if you want to be winning against these classes, definitely go for Ping Mage. Mulligan wise, obviously you want your Wildfire, and also Shivering Sorceress is pretty good, as well as Amplified Snow Flurry. When going second, I would assume Magister also makes the cut easier, but when going first, he's probably gonna be a little bit too heavy for you. Star Scryer feels good, as well as Arcane Intellect, and Reckless Apprentice is also pretty solid. You can also keep some other curve cards, but be careful not to keep something that you actually don't need in the early turns. For Paladin, we still have Libram Paladin at the top. You probably noticed that I played Buff Paladin not too long ago, and that deck is actually also doing pretty good, but in reality, Libram Paladin is still pretty solid. And actually somebody took rank 1 legend with it not too long ago, so this seemingly simple deck actually does pack a mean punch right now. This list is running the Trogs, which can literally win you the game sometimes as soon as turn 1. We also have Mr. Smite in here, but personally I prefer Mutinous instead, so you can have some chance against some of those OTK decks. But the rest of the list is pretty much standard stuff. There is no Baroth in this one, which is kinda weird, but if you wanna fit Baroth, I guess you're gonna cut down one Trog. Matchup wise, Aggro and Beast Druid are below 50%, and most Priests are gonna be wrecking you as well. Control Warlock is not too fun, as well as Boner OTK Shaman and Quest Shaman. And Quest Rogue is gonna be below 50% as well, but all in all, as you can see, it's gonna be pretty green for you. Mulligan wise, Trog is always gonna make the cut, as well as Aldor Attendant. Samuro is also not a bad keep, but I'm not sure you really want to be keeping it when going first. Maybe against certain matchups like Hunter, let's say, but all in all, I wouldn't really be keeping Samuro like that. Carol can also make the cut in certain matchups, but be careful not to overkeep her if you don't actually think you're gonna be able to reach turn 7 with a heavy card like this. If you already have a good 1-drop, Hand of Adult also makes sense, and Bannerman and Stoneheart Vindicator are pretty good keeps as well. When on the coin, it's basically the same. Carol becomes a lot more keepable, and I do believe Samuro is a must-keep in this case too. Nobleman becomes keepable too. The buffs also become keepable here, but again, make sure to have a target for them. And also, only keep one of them. You don't really want to be keeping them like this, you'd rather draw them out with Stoneheart Vindicator and with your Knight of the Anointment. Kiro Rome becomes decent as well, and Bannerman is still pretty good. Alor Truthseeker, nowadays you keep him in a very rare situation. Moving down to Priest, where we have Aggro Shadow Priest really doing pretty well lately. Aggro Shadow Priest did receive some decent support with the Fias Leper, and also Najak is pretty decent as well. We all remember what monster of a deck Shadow Priest used to be when Elucia was unnerfed, so if you want to see a fraction of that power still, Shadow Priest right now is still pretty decent. You still have a couple of Trogs in here, which again can steal some games early on. We have also Serena Bloodfeather here, which can feel pretty clutch in some cases. And the rest is basically board-centric stuff, curving off with Mistress Smite at the top, for some mid-game finisher. Matchup-wise, Beast Druid is not gonna be great, as well as Quest Hunter, and also Fel DH and Death Rattle Demon Hunter just have too much clears for you. Mages are not gonna be great, no Shaman is gonna be great, which says a lot because there's a lot of Shaman out there right now. And for Warlock, only Quest Canned Warlock is gonna be okay for you, and the rest not so much. And again, Warriors are gonna be pretty bad for you. Surprisingly, Priest is actually doing pretty well, despite all of these red matchups, which feels pretty weird, but I guess that's the stats. Mulligan-wise, when going first, you want your good 1-drops with Void Touch Attendant, Iron Deep Shrug, as well as Tour Guide and Peasant. Do not consider Guardian Og Merchant to be your 1-drop, but use it to buff something maybe on turn 2, let's say Void Touch or Iron Deep Shrug, or even ping something down for the opponent later. Serena Bloodfeather could feel pretty decent, but I'm not sure you really want to be keeping her when going first. I'd honestly prefer her when going second. Wriggling Horror can make a lot of sense if you know you're gonna be sticking a good amount of minions early on. And also Mankrik and Frazzle Freshman feel pretty decent as well. Twilight Deceptor can also be a keep, but the rest are probably not that amazing. Aside from Cult Neophyte, in some cases that might be pretty good, let's say against the Mazaki Mage. When on the coin, as you can see, it's pretty much the same. But even Raise Dead and Thrive in the Shadows make some sense to keep, as well as the Fias Leper. Frazzled Freshman and Mankrik go a lot lower in the keep list, but I would assume it's still not the worst thing to keep in some cases. For Rogue, not to my surprise, Thief Rogue is back at the top. Even though the nerf was super hard for it, the deck was just too powerful for that to really hold it down. And right now, this is the best performing Rogue list for top 1000 Legend. For Diamond to Legend, it's still probably gonna be Quest Rogue because it's a lot simpler to pilot, but if you have what it takes, Thief Rogue can really take you high Legend. The list literally looks exactly the same as it used to. Matchup wise, Beast Druid and Fel Demon Hunter are not gonna be too good for you. Libram Paladin is below 50, as well as Big Priest. Aggro Elemental and Vulner Shaman are not amazing. Quest Hand Warlock and Just Quest Warlock as well, and the new Charge Warrior is also gonna be pretty hard for you. Mulligan-wise, Double Agent and Wild Pognol are still your best keeps, but also obviously the tradable cards. When going second, Price Plunder also makes a lot of sense, as well as Wand Thief, but I wouldn't be keeping those if I already don't have these two. Reconnaissance and Swashbuckler also make some sense, but you basically get to keep only one of these three. You don't want all three. For Shaman, we have Burn Shaman at the top. And this deck is pretty cheap and pretty reliable nowadays. It's definitely not a simple deck to pilot, and you have to be pretty efficient to make the burn damage enough for your opponents. You can usually pop off even as soon as turn 5 if you get super lucky with, let's say, a Phoenix out of your Primordial Studies, but usually around turn 6 or 7 is where you can pop off really hard with above 30 damage from hand, or with the help of the Snowfall Guardian, let's say. For the matchups, we don't have too much matchups on this particular list, but Miracle Priest is not gonna be your friend. On a similar list with a lot more matchups, you can see also Ram Druid and Fel DH are not gonna be too great. Big Spell Mage could be a little bit iffy, Poison Rogue should be wrecking you, as well as LTK Warlock and Charge Warrior. Wow, Charge Warrior is absolutely horrible. Mulligan-wise, the Caverns are gonna be pretty good value for the mana cost, and you basically keep him when going first and when going second. Sleetbreaker makes a lot of sense, as well as Serpent Shower Portal. Depending on the matchup, Landslide might make a lot of sense. And Primal Dungeoneer could be pretty good as well. Primordial Studies can also make the cut, I guess. And you could even consider something like Frostbite if you expect a free health minion from the opponent. The deck is definitely pretty hard to master, so it's gonna take time to figure this one out for you. For Warlock, Quest Hand Warlock is still at the top, and the version with Showstopper is really popping off. Because this way you get to unlock your board after a Snowfall Guardian, let's say, or some taunts or stuff like that. Other than that, everything else is pretty much standard stuff for this list. No reason really to talk about this one too much because we have just too many times. Matchup wise, Face Hunter and Fell Demon Hunter are not too great, as well as LTK Warlock and Charge Warrior. For the mulligan, when going first, you're gonna want your Backfire, a Nepheron, Goldshire Knoll, and also Soulrend and Torguide. Shadowblade Slinger can also make some sense. When going second, again a Nepheron makes a lot of sense, but even Dreadlich Tamsin might become a lot more keepable. Backfire is still pretty good, but be careful not to overdraw with it on turn 3. Shadowblade Slinger makes a lot more sense here, and Torguide and Goldshire Knoll still pretty good. Raise Dead might also be pretty cool, especially if you already have the big boys. And for the last class, Warrior, we have Charge Warrior again. It took a while for Control-y Warrior decks to pop off again, but now this is what you should be expecting when facing a Warrior. We have the new Frozen Buckler in here, which combines perfectly well with the 10 mana Shield Shatter, which becomes a 0 mana deal 5 damage AoE. And that is a very powerful AoE for you. We have Captain Galvangar, which can OTK your opponent for up to 54 OTK damage from hand, mind you. We have the new and improved Rukara. Rattlegore can be your win condition in some games, where you get the double Faceless Manipulator it. And the rest is basically a ton of control tools, including Baroff, Bladestorm, Bulwark, Minefield, and all sorts of different removals, which make it insanely hard for the opponent to actually predict what they should be playing around, just because you have literally one or two of each. Matchup wise, Ram Druid is gonna be pretty hard for you, as well as Libram Paladin and both Ping and Big Spell Mage. Quest Priest is not gonna be too amazing, as well as Bolner OTK Shaman, but the rest should be fine. Mulligan wise, it's kinda hard really to tell you what to keep here. Depending on the matchup, you gotta figure out what removals you might be needing, but other than that, you're always gonna want, let's say, Corsair Cache. And when going first, this is what it looks like. And when going second, this is what the stats show. But it's really not something you can just blindly follow and feel good about it. It's really gonna come down to the matchup and what your game plan is, basically. So be careful with that one. So that's gonna be it for this Best Decks video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, a like and subscribe would really help. Don't forget to check out Core and download it through the links in the description and in the pinned comment. And check out Puppet Masters too. Thanks for watching, I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.